Hello, welcome to Woodshed Reviews. My name's Darren.
And I am Uisdean.
And for our very first episode of our brand new film review show, where we'll be looking at films old and new, we are indeed looking at some films old and new. The recently released Halloween Ends bookended a new trilogy of sequels to the original 1978 John Carpenter classic, and we'll be looking at all four. So, will we start at the beginning, or?
I think so. I mean, Halloween, that's a film that we grew up with, the original 1978 John Carpenter classic.
Is it a classic, or are we a little bit blinded by nostalgia and a really cool theme tune? Because there's no debate, it's a really cool theme tune.
Yeah.
But is the film itself, and that's what I kind of thought, start off with asking you.
I think obviously it's a gem of an idea. It's he created an amazing kind of nucleus of an idea that's otherwise why would they keep coming back to it and making more films and trying different things with the franchise. It's just so iconic, and filmmakers are always going back to it and wanting to reinvent Michael Myers and bring him back somehow. 12
times now they've tried it. Or I guess Halloween 3 doesn't count, but 11 times, 13 films in this franchise now, so it's I think we could say it's bordering on ridiculous, but
yeah,
it's certainly testament to the original and what made it so special in the first place. So, I mean, what would be your thoughts on I'm assuming that you think the film still holds up. We watched all four films recently, so what was your thoughts on watching Halloween for the umpteenth time?
Yeah, again, I really enjoyed it. I think I just love the style of filmmaking, the wide shots, really get a sense of location.
Yeah.
I don't think we see Michael Myers, well, we see him kind of sporadically throughout the film, but he doesn't really kick into action till about an hour in, I think.
50-minute mark, possibly, something around that. It's an hour and a half film, so it's perfect horror length. Yeah. That's for starters, right off the bat.
And it's a very slow pace, which I quite like. I know a lot of people maybe find it too slow, especially modern audiences, maybe, I don't know. But I like that, and especially the last act, I guess it's all set during the night, and it feels like it's real time. It feels like you can jump from one house to the other, and then it all kicks off. I think it's a really great example of building up of tension, and then just going full throttle mayhem.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think it's also a really a masterclass in art from adversity, really, and I think that's kind of symbolised by the fact that Michael Myers himself is like I think it was a $1 like Halloween mask, not even a Halloween mask. It's it's a well-known secret that it's a Captain Kirk William Shatner mask. Getting that for I think that kind of symbolises that they were just kind of like it was pretty low budget for the time. I mean, more than John Carpenter probably had played with before that, but as a sort of starting off as a fairly new director, and they didn't have a lot of time to shoot it, and I think that really kind of comes through in a positive way, because they have to kind of backs up against the wall, and how do we, what do we do to make this effective, and all these kind of things, and that it really kind of like I think it benefits from that to some degree, where other films later on in the series where they've got a bigger budget and more to do, and they've got to up the scares, up the kills. Never quite recaptures the simpleness of it.
Yeah, when you're forced to be creative because of limitations, you can come out with something really special. And,
exactly.
Inventive.
Yeah. I think watching it this time, one of the things that I've noticed before, but I really like, is like you're saying about the first hour, maybe first 50 minutes.
Yeah.
All in daylight.
Yep.
You actually see Michael Myers from a distance or close up, but not the full.
Yeah. And
it's really effective kind of shots, and I think it's quite brave.
Yeah, it's over the shoulder shots of quite a few of them. Kind of seeing things from his perspective. You get the feeling that she's been stalked.
Yeah, because we're following her a lot.
Yeah.
We're really following Laurie from, as you're saying, long shots, and that are walking her along the street, and you're always kind of like, you know Michael Myers, or you know, maybe if you're thinking about the first time you watched it, you know there's someone is there. And then when you see him, as I was saying, some really simple shots where when he steps behind the hedge, well, he's standing in front, like half kind of behind the hedge in front of Laurie in plain daylight in a suburban street, middle of autumn, you know, and then he just kind of walks behind the hedge. And it's really effective. I mean, I guess maybe, as you're saying, modern day audiences might not think much of that at all, really. But
Yeah.
I think it's really kind of like quite brave, because it's almost like the opposite way that you would do this. You would keep him in the shadows, if you keep him in darkness, which they do later on, obviously, and to good effect. I really kind of enjoy that aspect of it. It's just something a little different, and the mask just helps with that, because when you're seeing them from that distance, you can't quite see what you're looking at. Is it a human face?
Yeah, you don't know what's underneath the mask.
Yeah.
The thing about the bush, do you notice that in pretty much all the films we were looking at, Michael Myers always seems to pull off an amazing disappearing act. So I'm just wondering,
Where did he go there?
He was standing right there.
Poor Laurie. Scared another one away.
so can he teleport, or does he have a...
Not yet. Maybe he's probably doing that later on. I think by Halloween 6 he possibly is. But
They probably reveal the fact he can teleport.
yeah. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing as well. This is the perfect one for Michael Myers for me, because I think the more you try and explain him, and the more that he sort of survives, and you've got to kind of like come up with this explanation for it, which they start to kind of do even in Halloween 2, with the Samhain sort of festival link about that, and then that kind of like is fully kind of explored by, is it 5 or 6?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like we've gone off the rails. As much as I kind of enjoy some of those dafter sequels, but
Yeah.
I think
It's a fine line, isn't it, between reality and the supernatural? How far do you go?
I think it does it perfectly with this. Just at the end, there's like he's been shot and he survived, but you don't know to what extent. You don't know where he's gone. Is he impervious to this? Is he been badly injured and he's crawling away? Leaving it at that lingering shot that Michael Myers is still out there. That end shots of like in the houses, inside the houses, you hear the breathing. Perfect ending, you know, and possibly that should have been it. But there has been some good sequels, as we'll talk about now. So I think we're kind of like agreeing it's a classic. I would add to that, I think a good part of that is due to the setting, it being the definitive title of Halloween, and also coming up with that soundtrack, that theme tune, which is kind of just totally associated with the holiday or the celebration of Halloween now, which is
Absolutely.
no mean feat, really. I think a lot of people would possibly just think it was like a Halloween song, if you like, that Halloween is in terms of the celebration, rather than Halloween the film, if you haven't actually seen it, which, you know, not everybody has, unfortunately, but I think you should definitely remedy that.
I would love to see it on the big screen just to see how effective it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely all these wide shots and the lingering
Yeah,
shots and the tracking shots. And
yeah.
it'd be interesting just to see how it holds up in the big screen.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I watch it most years, and then I sometimes kind of go into some of the sequels here and there, but definitely watch the first one. Most October, and yeah, it I think for me just kind of it gets better and better, you know, sort of thing. You appreciate it more and more.
Yeah, especially when you see films nowadays. And
yeah, I think so, definitely. So I think would agree there that that's a classic.
Absolutely.
So that would lead us on then to Halloween, the sequel to Halloween.
Yes, 40 years later. Why did they wait so long to make a sequel? I don't know.
Yeah, in case anyone's remembering a slew of Halloween sequels in the 80s and 90s, yes, they did exist, but Halloween 2018 basically came along to wipe the slate clean from those and give us a direct sequel to the original film we've just discussed. So that's kind of where we're at now. So
how did you feel about that? I mean, personally, I loved a lot of some of the details in the sequels, and I kind of feel
original sequels.
Yeah, the original sequels, and now they've been eradicated totally. I'm just wondering, yeah,
They still exist, and you can still. I think the best thing I saw, someone had said that the Halloween franchise was a sort of choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
So you've got effectively four different timelines now.
Yeah.
So the original 1 to 6, the 1 and H2O Resurrection line, the Rob Zombie remakes, and then now this one that we're discussing now. So, you know, this is nothing new. Doing the 2018 one, it's, you know, it is what it is. It's maybe become a bit of a trend, I think, now, because we're seeing this now with The Exorcist, is up and coming from the same director and possibly the same team that have done this with Halloween. So, well, let's get into Halloween 2018 then.
I really enjoyed Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
It was great to see Jamie Lee Curtis back and really nice meaty role. And I loved the 3 generations of the women.
Mm-hmm.
And all 3 actresses were fantastic in the roles. And I just loved their relationships. And I mean, still suffering from the effects of 40 years ago. She's locked up
I
in
think
a kind of fortress.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favourite Halloween film, but it's my favourite Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode role. I think it's her. She's got a lot to kind of to get her teeth into with this one. And as much as I love the original Halloween, you know, there's not a lot to it, to its benefit. But there's, as an actress, 2018 one I thought has been her finest kind of performance as Laurie Strode. So yeah, because she's has she done, like 5, 6? How many films has she been in now? 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 films. So this is definitely my favourite of her performance as Laurie Strode. So really enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought I'd got a lot right. I think it would be. I don't know if it would be my favourite of the sequels, but I think it would be uncontroversial to say so. To say that this is your favourite after the original. And yeah, I thought I liked the generational thing, but I thought maybe a little bit was lost with the 3 of them. So it maybe could have benefited from having either the mother-daughter relationship being a little bit stronger, or if they wanted to go for the granddaughter relationship. But it was decently done enough. It wasn't totally like a no-go for me or anything.
Yeah.
I thought it was all done well enough.
They weren't going for the supernatural side of Michael Myers so much in this one, I don't think. It's more like he's portrayed as a guy, a total psycho. They've locked him up for 40 years.
I think that's probably my first criticism of it, is if you're watching this after Halloween 1978, Michael Myers escapes, and then you go to this film, he's about, you know, that's the whole sort of hook of it, you know, when you're walking home from the cinema, when you get home, Michael Myers could be there. You plug in and watch the 2018 one directly after it, and they caught him. And he's in prison, he's been in prison for 4 years. And there's not, we'll find it later in Halloween Kills, but in this film, it feels a little bit anticlimactic. I think there's a line by the sheriff or the police officer guy, Will Patton, who kind of forms a relationship with Laurie.
Okay, Frank Hawkins, is it?
Is that his character's name?
Yeah.
Hawkins, yeah, that sounds
Hawkins.
right. He says something, a line about he was there and it got called out, the first callers, and they arrested him. That's all they kind of say.
Yeah.
And that does kind of feel a little bit, if you're watching it as we watched it, and you kind of finish Halloween and you go straight into that, it's like, oh, right.
So that's quite easy in the end. They just caught him.
They just caught him, yeah. He was just caught, but they don't going to go into it. Whereas we'll get into Halloween Kills obviously next, but I did like that that flashback that was in Halloween Kills, and I thought possibly that could have been something that they could have done with this film. But, you know, it's a sort of minor complaint. Bigger complaints would be some of the humorous characters in it that are kind of isolated, so you can kind of just, it's like a minute of a scene where, like, I think particularly the cops having a discussion about
Oh yes,
about sandwiches, killing the tension of it. It's not particularly funny. It's not appropriate in a Halloween film. Kind of kills the tension. And I felt there was a few elements of that. Maybe the dad character, as in Laurie's daughter's husband, her son-in-law.
Yeah.
He's a little kind of like that kind of, as a lot of these kind of characters that pepper this film and the next one, that kind of, I feel the kind of comedy writing of Danny McBride possibly kind of just infiltrating the film a little too much.
Yeah. That sounds disgusting. I'm not gonna try that. I brought my own food. I'm very happy with mine. You wanna see what I brought?
Yeah, I do want to see what you brought.
Ready? Look at this. That.
Oh.
Fresh brownie.
Okay.
Chocolatey homemade brownie. I made that myself.
That's like what a 5-year-old would eat if they could make their own lunch.
Son-in-law, when he gets killed, there's not much trauma. Yeah, I mean, they seem to get over it a bit too quickly.
Yeah, they don't. I don't think they react to it much at all in this film, Halloween 2018, or even in Halloween Kills, which is something we can get into. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of characters in it that, and moments in it that just kind of take me out of it a little bit. But I think it's minor. It's little, like the cop sequences I was talking about. It's like about a minute long, and then it's done.
Yeah.
It's not threaded out right throughout the film or anything like that. It's quite little bits that it says, oh, you know, come on, we'll embellish this a little bit. We'll play a little bit loose with the rules of a horror film, you know. So
also another thing is Laurie Strode. She's convinced that Michael Myers is after her.
Yeah.
But was he? If we take this storyline, she just happened to be another person that was about.
Yeah, because there's not the sister aspect. Obviously, in Halloween, the original Halloween 2, it's revealed that Laurie is Michael's sister, and that's why he was stalking her, trying to kill her, because he wants to kill his family. He killed his sister Judith in the start of the original film. That's been wiped clean, which I think is for the best, because it does take away a bit from the original film, I think, because it is nice that Michael's he's like a shark or something. He's just going through, and if he comes across you,
that's right,
you're dead meat. And it just so happens in the original that Laurie, whose dad's the sort of realtor selling the Myers house, she just happens to have to go to the house she's dropping off the keys or something like that. So he's in there at the time, and that triggers him an interest in her. So that's more interesting, I think, than the whole brother-sister thing. So I think they were wise to kind of wipe the slate clean with that.
So she wasn't really the target. I mean, she could have just probably chilled out and lived in a house and she would have been fine.
But they could have maybe played up on that a bit more so that Laurie realises, oh, Michael doesn't care. He's not targeting me. He's not coming after me. And that would be kind of quite an interesting thing for her to have realised she spent 40 years of her life in this sort of like, I mean, effectively kind of like ruining her relationships with her daughter, not being able to get on with her life. She's become a recluse and all this stuff, and it all could have been for nothing. And they do hint at that, and I think that could have been an interesting kind of to have gone a little deeper into. If this had been the only film they'd done, I thought this would have been a really sort of strong one and done kind of like proper sequel to Halloween that kind of does what it needs to do.
She's dealing with her trauma and
that was interesting. Yeah. Aye, and it was a good build up to that. She says something like,
"Okay, it's not a cage, baby. It's a trap."
That was brilliant.
Yeah, and you kind of like go, it's a real kind of punch there kind of moment, you know, and it was all great. And I would have been I think that would have been pretty fine. And I think initially that was the idea, that we're going to do one, but see how it went. And obviously it proved pretty popular at cinema. I think it made good buck. It got good reviews. So obviously more sequels were to come. Surprisingly, Michael wasn't dead. That would lead us on to
Halloween Kills. Yeah, I mean, the first time I saw it, I was definitely felt let down by it. It was just totally different, and had a feel of Halloween 2 about it, where Laurie was stuck in the hospital. And
do you think that was an intentional sort of like callback to that?
I have no idea. But there's a few moments where she's convinced that Myers is going to come into the hospital, and I think somebody else says it. So you get the feeling it's going to be a big hospital bloodbath at the end, which doesn't happen. But instead we get another sort of bloodbath, I guess, with Michael Myers taking out quite a few of the town folk.
Oh yes, I certainly this one is like, I think, you know, in the classic sequel style, it ups the ante in terms of the blood, the visceral kills, and all that kind of stuff.
It certainly starts to feel more supernatural in this one. He's not come across as a human.
Yeah, it's quite stated by the end of it that he's drawing his power from their, is it their hatred, their anger, something like that. Which is, again, something I'm not especially keen on, but then I guess you can't keep shooting Michael Myers multiple times and not explain how he's able to walk away. So this is it gets itself into this kind of conundrum where you need to keep doing this and upping the ante, and oh, Michael's dead, but he's not. How's he survived, you know? And then you have to you get to a point where you can't just keep doing the same thing. You've got to explain, this and that, and that's when you end up with, like we said, with Halloween 6, where I can't even remember now, but is he born of some satanic ritual or something like that?
Yeah, I know that's the trouble when you start revealing too much. It just gets a bit ridiculous and loses its mystery, and because it uses the fear of the unknown, you know, because in the original we don't know why he's doing this, and it's just shape coming after you. Yeah,
I think again this is the film where in classic sequel style it starts to have to kind of explain a bit more about Michael Myers, and that, you know, some people might like that. For me, it's killing the mystique a bit, and it's kind of giving you answers that you'd ever really asked for, I suppose. I mean, I've only seen Halloween Kills twice. Last year at the cinema, and watched it again this week for talking about it today. But I think both times I felt not great.
Well, I enjoyed it more the second time. I just had to accept it's not really in the same league as the first reboot. So I kind of got into it more because I knew what I was getting. It's a bit, you know, I enjoyed the kills, and it's a bit trashy, and that kind of aspect. It was a bit more fun, not so serious.
I think, the tone, I think you said, it does feel like a different tone, and it's kind of disguised a little bit initially, I felt, because it takes place right after the first film. It's on the same night, and you kind of get lulled into this, something's not quite right, and it's a slightly different tone. It's got a different idea in it. I think on paper, the idea of this sort of the vigilante mob kind of taking over because the police are failing and they're fed up with this guy going about terrorising their town. I think it reads well on paper, and I like the idea that I think the execution is not great. I think it feels a little farcical when they're running about in the hospital, like the crowds of people. And that didn't really work for me. It wasn't as bad on a second viewing, maybe because I just kind of lowered my expectations, but I still couldn't say that I enjoyed it or anything, but that aspect of it. And it maybe felt a little fanboyish and sort of taking back so many characters and actors from the original, particularly from the original film.
I was surprised at that, just how many they managed to drag back.
I think it felt like just too congregated into this one film, and sort of like it didn't feel organic that the nurse from the start of the first film would be hanging about with Tommy Doyle and what's the other kid's name? Lonnie.
And Lonnie's a new character.
Lonnie's the kid. You remember when Donald Pleasance sort of spends the sort of second half of the film just standing outside Michael Myers' house?
Oh, right, was he there?
He's a kid that runs up to the house, and you know, Donald Pleasance is like, Loomis is hiding in the bushes, and he goes, "Hey Lonnie, get your ass out of there," something like that.
Hey Lonnie, Get your ass away from there.
So that's Lonnie.
Okay.
So this is the point. It's like any character from the first film, they're like, we'll take him and we'll put them, a completely incidental character who's got nothing to do with it. And they gave him I think they gave him the background of that later on in the night he meets Michael Myers. He's a kid that's...
That's right, there's a new scene.
Yeah, with the flashback of Halloween Kills, which again I thought was... I don't know what you thought of the flashback scene. I thought that was pretty well done.
Where'd he go? Where is he?
Yeah.
But then there was another example of Michael Myers was standing over the boy, and then all of a sudden Myers vanishes, right? And then the cops are there like 6 seconds later.
I think that was maybe to do with that, like inside the mind of the boy, he's just like goes catatonic or something. So more time has passed. That's what I read it as.
He teleported.
Okay, maybe he teleported. It's in the pipeline, surely, at some point. But yeah, he's not as... I mean, I was watching the Friday the 13th films not too long ago, and Jason teleports. If you want to see teleporting,
Really?
he teleports a lot, so...
Yeah.
Especially like 3 and 4 and stuff, so...
Wow.
Michael Myers is pretty normal in terms of that kind of stuff compared to some of these of these other slashers that he himself kind of influenced, I guess, in the creation. So, but yeah, Halloween Kills.
And they invented Hawkins. He wasn't. I don't think he was in the original.
No.
So he's a good character. I like the actor. I like the kind of relationship with him and Laurie. I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah.
I like the flashback to his younger self and when they apprehend Myers.
Yeah, again, that was probably one of my favourite bits. I did like that. I thought my favourite scene has got to be, and I know this is going to make me sound not like a nice person, but the elderly couple who Myers goes into, they're a bit annoying. For some reason they're flying a little toy.
Yeah, the drone.
I don't know. This is another thing where I think they've got all these characters who they try to give quirky personalities to, so that they're memorable, and it just it doesn't work for me. But there's a great bit when he takes a husband who's dead, lays him over the kitchen table. She's lying half dead with something sticking out of her neck, and he just starts taking all her knives and just slamming them into her as if he's just testing the knives out, like you're just cutting an onion or something like that. And he's just kind of going. And that was my favourite scene because it was kind of grim, but also kind of quite funny in a sort of darkly comic kind of way.
Indeed. He does seem to find the time to place all the bodies in interesting positions.
Or heave his, in the original one, heave his sister's pretty hefty looking gravestone.
That's right.
Across town.
Where do you put it?
I don't know. It's something else like, but yeah, he's or just putting the bodies into interesting positions, and as he tends to do, because they're never left where they die.
That's right.
They get strung up in cupboards or whatever. Sometimes they're left where they die, I guess. But yeah, but he's definitely got a creative flair to it.
I don't know where he finds the time. He gets about.
Teleporting.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
That's his new secret ability. Yeah, so Halloween Kills. I think disappointing. I think would be, after I had my expectations up for it, it's a bit disappointing.
Certainly the first time, yeah, it was very disappointing because you're expecting more of the same kind of tone. But second time I enjoyed it more. I just kind of accepted that, okay, if there's going to be a third one, it's just going to get a bit crazier.
Yeah. That's what you thought. So that leads us nicely into Halloween Ends, which was released yesterday. We went to the cinema last night to see it. So, usually I like a little bit more time to kind of like
digest.
Yeah, digest a film before kind of discussing it at any kind of length. But here we are, fresh in our minds at least.
Yeah.
We tried not to talk about it coming out of the cinema, but I think you kind of let slip that you liked it a bit more than me.
I believe I did, yes.
Yeah. So let's go with the positives first then.
Okay, I mean, it's a lot more trashy, messy. I love the opening with this new character, Corey Cunningham, who's a babysitter who, in a moment of recklessness, accidentally kills the kid that he was looking after. I thought that's quite shocking. I know it's an interesting start.
Yeah.
And then we cut to 4 years later. So right off the bat, we're left the events of Halloween and Halloween Kills a little bit.
The opening is a year after.
That's right, yeah.
And then it's 3 years later. So it's, for us, it's sort of like four years. So what was your thoughts? I didn't actually, because I didn't watch the trailer. I try not to watch.
I didn't see it, no.
I try not to watch film trailers just because so much is spoiled these days. But so I didn't know. I just assumed that it was going to be like the second one ran off of the first one. Well, Halloween Kills was picked up right off where Halloween 2018 left off. I just kind of assumed it was going to be the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that threw me a bit. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. I mean, it's 4 years on and we see Laurie Strode and her granddaughter living together, I think. And they're not where you expect them to be. I mean, they're put the events, despite the fact that Myers are still out there.
Yeah, this is my first problem.
Yeah, they're decided to live their lives positively and not in fear.
Living quite normally
compared
to how she was in the first film. And that's my first question is, after the events of the 1978 film, for 40 years, she lived in this way. Michael Myers comes back for a night, kills multiple people, including her daughter and her son-in-law and her daughter's friend.
Yeah.
She just gets away, that all happens, and yet she goes just back to a normal, middle-class, cozy, suburban lifestyle. Yeah, this felt a bit odd to me.
It is odd, but I think that's the point you kind of realise, okay, this film is going to be quite a bit different. I mean, there's aspects of that. I quite like the idea that they're living their life like that. I quite like that. And they both seem quite full of empathy towards Corey Cunningham, who everyone's kind of bullying a bit, pushing down because he accidentally killed a kid. I thought that was quite interesting, that they would have so much empathy for him and trying to engage him, take him out. I thought that was very interesting. I'm not seen anything like that before. So I was quite enjoying that aspect of it.
Okay.
That whole thing is, you do something horrible and then people just keep stamping on you and you end up becoming a monster that you're not, but people think you are. Okay,
because be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure that I got what they were doing with his character. I kind of surmised that it was something like that but not from what the film. Maybe I missed something or other. I'm perfectly in a first viewing. I'm perfectly willing to accept that, but I didn't quite understand. Was he always evil? Was it always lurking in there, and it was triggered by this event and by people treating him the way that they did, which was it wasn't like over the score, but it was, obviously he felt a bit kind of like, he couldn't go out in public sort of thing too much. And then to the point where Michael Myers, which we'll get to, sees him, captures him, doesn't kill him because...
Well...
What's your take on that?
Well, obviously, I think Michael Myers has been dormant for 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
But though... I was reading that you do see
missing girl posters
in the background, so he's still at it.
Yeah, he needs to feed.
He needs to feed, yeah. Yeah, so he's hiding in a sewer, but Pennywise, I guess. But I kind of read it that Michael Myers is old now. His body's older, so he's not as fit as he used to be. Yeah. So this evil entity that's in him needs a new
Right. Okay.
body. So Corey Cunningham falls off the bridge outside his entrance to his sewer.
In his front door, basically.
Yeah, very convenient. So he gets dragged in.
And then,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think Michael Myers sees him as a possible, well, not Michael Myers, but the evil
Is that possible
entity or whatever it is.
host for him?
Yeah, the shape or whatever.
Okay. See, I wasn't sure if Michael was seeing that he was a kindred spirit, so he wasn't going to kill him. I suppose it's maybe two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, well, he looks into his eyes, remember, and he sees what he's just done. So he said, "Oh, I could maybe live in this guy."
Okay.
So, yeah, because I get that feeling at the end. This is how they finish the Michael Myers story and the Laurie Strode story. Because now we've got Corey Cunningham, who'll be the new Michael Myers, who'll go and chase the granddaughter, possibly.
Right, but he's dead though, is he?
Come on.
Well, true enough. But do you think that's what they're going for?
I have no idea.
I wasn't sure if they were going for that, and they leave the mask at the end as a sort of like, is it the person that wears the mask? Is that part of it? Because he makes a big show of getting the mask from Michael Myers, where they have a wrestling match.
It's a symbolic. Yeah, it was to see who was the alpha.
Right.
Yeah.
Alpha.
I think it's a slow transference. Because it wasn't instant, so not like, here's the baton, now you're Michael, you go. It seems to be a slow thing because they're wrestling over it.
See, it sounds like, when we're saying this, it sounds like to me like we're discussing the Halloween sequel from like the 1980s. Mm-hmm. And I think that's about the only positive thing that I could kind of say about it, that this could have been Halloween 5.5 or something like that, you know.
Yeah, which is what I was on board with. I thought early on, gosh, I can't believe they're gone here. Okay, okay, let's have it. I'll enjoy it. And I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it more than Kills, I have to say.
Really?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's hard. I possibly enjoyed it even more than the 2018 one, but is it better? No. But in terms of enjoyment.
I'll definitely need to watch it again. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't take an awful lot from it. I felt it was too disjointed from the other two films, and suddenly focusing on this new character, it felt like that possibly, if they were going to do that, that should have been a different film to this one, because it took away from the Laurie Strode and Michael Myers story, which I thought we had been building up to.
Yeah.
And then Michael Myers is fairly sidelined in this film. Now, Laurie Strode was sidelined in Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
But to sideline Michael Myers in his own film, in his last film as well, was kind of unforgivable. I just kind of felt like we spent so long with this character, and then in the last sort of maybe 15 minutes they remembered, oh wait, yeah, it's a Halloween film. Michael Myers and Laurie Strode need to battle. And that just kind of came out, for me, that kind of just came out of the blue, like that end, and there was no kind of build up to it. I guess the explanation is that Corey led Michael to Laurie's, a la the psychiatrist in the 2018 film led Michael to Laurie's home, rather than it being Michael seeking Laurie out. But it did kind of feel like, oh, we're nearly at the end of the film, better have Laurie battling Michael, because we had that in the trailer, which I watched afterwards, sort of thing, and it definitely gives the impression of a different film.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. I mean, I'll watch it again, and I'll at some point, maybe not right away, maybe next year or something like that, next Halloween.
Yeah.
But I felt pretty bored by it, and it didn't feel like it had any tension or scares or anything like that. And I just kind of felt this focus on this brand new character and the granddaughter, who was, a kind of character in the first two films, but certainly not a main focus or anything like that. And it all just kind of felt a bit left field for me. It just kind of came out of the blue that suddenly we were following this alternate story, which again, I think the positive that I would say is, it felt like, something that could have come between Halloween 5 and Halloween 6, or maybe even after Halloween 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Particularly with this sort of like evil spirited edge sort of thing.
Yeah.
that is prevalent in 6 particularly, but I think amped up a little bit in this one compared to hinted at in Kills,
Yeah.
but definitely sort of like...
Yeah, it's definitely got more and more supernatural, this latest trilogy, especially in the last one.
Yeah, as did the original sort of sequels, I guess, which is, you know, so I think my positive would be that, yeah, it's probably a trashy kind of sequel that, you know, as much as I'm just thinking, as much as like, I think something like Halloween 5 is pretty bad, I still watch it now and again, you know, so possibly this one will be the same, but I do think for me it's probably the most boring of the Halloween films. Any other Halloween films I would never describe as boring. I might say they're totally rubbish, or trashy, or hilariously bad, such as Resurrection or something like that. But I would never say boring.
Oh man!
And I found Ends. I did find it boring on a first view. So
no, I really got into it. Definitely not boring for me.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
No, there's definitely been some mixed reviews about it. I think mostly negative, but not totally sort of thing. So there's obviously other people out there enjoying.
I'm not alone.
Enjoying Corey what? What's his name?
Cunningham.
Corey Cunningham.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to catch on.
Yeah. So whether they're going to continue or not, that's well, they're going to have to one day. But I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis is going to do another one.
No, but would you totally rule it out in like for the 60th anniversary if she's still about? She has a cameo.
Yeah.
A little I remember Michael Myers, you know, to the next generation. I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't.
I suppose if they go with the granddaughter as a character.
Yeah. I don't think this. I mean, Halloween ends for now, but I don't think we've seen the last of it. But I think a break would be nice after these 3 films.
So ratings for Halloween. So how many logs are we going to put on the fire?
Logs on the fire for Halloween 1978. Definitely 4. Possibly 4.5. I think I would kind of go for. Maybe not quite up there as a total 5-star, all singing, all dancing kind of thing. I think it's got a couple of niggling little issues, nothing to write home about. So I'm going to go 4.5.
I have to agree with you there. 4 logs and a bit of kindling.
4 logs and some kindling. Okay. Okay, Halloween 2018.
Oh.
I'll let you go first.
Definitely a solid 4 logs.
Solid 4 logs, okay. I think I'd probably agree with that. 4 logs, yeah. I think that's probably. I was going to say 3.5, but that feels a bit mean. So I'll go with 4. Halloween Kills.
3 logs.
3.
Yeah.
Okay, and you didn't like it as much as me. You said I would probably give Halloween Kills a 2.
All right.
2, maybe 2 logs and some kindling. Okay. I don't know, maybe, but definitely not a 3.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe 3 is quite high, but just edge on 3. Yeah.
Halloween Ends.
Yeah. Jeez, I feel like I need to see it again. I'll give it a 4 just now. 4 logs.
4 logs for Halloween Ends.
Aye.
Okay. Challenge. 1, I'm afraid.
Okay.
1 for me. On a first viewing, maybe there's something there that I'm missing, and maybe I need to enjoy the trashy nature of it in a way that I can maybe with a bit of the years gone by, I can enjoy some of the trashier sequels from the original timeline, particularly like 5 and 6, which I've got.
5 and 6, they're really bad.
Yeah, but I don't like 5, but I quite enjoy watching 6 now and again. As a sort of little guilty pleasure sort of thing. So maybe it could become like that, I don't know, but at the moment...
What? Become like that? Jeez.
Well, for my enjoyment of it, possibly. Okay, well that's the end of our very first episode of Woodshed Reviews. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.